Hi folks, time once more to choose my TBR for next month, October 2024. As usual, we'll be using the bingo balls of fate to determine which shelf I pick the books from, and then in most cases anyway, and then we'll be using the decision dice of destiny to determine which book from that shelf that I'll be reading. So without further ado, let's get on with the book selecting. So before we start, just a quick look at my shelves 1 to 5 of my mass market paperbacks, or my A format paperbacks of various ages. And the problem that I'm having, along with the other shelves over here, these shelves 7 to 12, is that they just don't come up very often in the bingo balls of fate. I've found they've only come up once or twice. And given that quite a lot of my books are on these shelves, just numerically speaking, I am taking a slightly different approach this month. I'm going to use the decision dice of destiny, 2 of them, to determine which shelf I pick from, and then again, as usual, 1 dice to choose from one of the 6 books that I select. So let's see what the decision dice of destiny have in store for us. We have 3 in the one, so that's shelf number 4. And the second one will be shelf 3. Okay, so shelf 4 was the first one. That's this one here. So we got a bit of Harry Harrison. I've read some Harry Harrison reasonably recently, so I'm not in a rush to read more. Could this be the time that I read a bit more Robert Heinlein? Well, I'm going to go for Orphans in the Sky, since that featured in that Generation Ship video recently. I think that's probably it for Heinlein for this time. What about a Zena Henderson? Pilgrimage would be good, so that's 2. What about a bit of slightly different Frank Herbert? What have we got here? What about the Santaroga Barrier? I don't know if that's any good. We'll see. Floating Worlds, I get that's meant to be very good. Ooh, tell you what though. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Excellent. Right, well, I think I would like to read White Queen, and I think I would give Simon Ings a go as well. So that is 6 from this shelf. Okay, let's see what the dice have in store. 2. Right, so shelf 4. So we threw a 2, so it's not Orphans in the Sky, nor is it Frankie Boy, or Cecilia with Floating Worlds, which is a shame. I'd like to read that. And I'd also say goodbye to Gwyneth for now, and Simon. Shame. But it is Zena Henderson's Pilgrimage. Marvellous. Right, so this is shelf 3. What do I fancy? Well, I could read on to book 2. Is that book 2? Yeah, book 2 of The Well of Souls. I read book 1 late last year, maybe. I don't really fancy any Arthur C. Clarke at the moment. About some D.G. Compton. I've never read any D.G. Compton. No Man's Land. And why don't I go with Michael Coney right next door there? Friends Come in Boxes, as in a door. So that's 3. Maybe. Oh, what about Hammers Slammers? I haven't read that. Short stories, but meant to be very good. And then go with Permutation City. So many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How about... I don't fancy any Jose Farmer, although I should read the next Riverworld book at some point, probably. I haven't read any Alan Dean Foster, but what attracts me most at the end of this shelf is Take Back Plenty, all the way over there. That's a bit of a stretch. Okay, good, that's 6. Let's see what the Dice of Destiny have to say for shelf 3. 6. Number 6 is not Jack Chalker, nor is it D.G. Compton or Michael G. Coney or Hammers Slammers or Permutation City, but it is, I'm very pleased to say, Take Back Plenty. Marvellous. All right, bookshelf bingo for October 2024. Shelf 32. Right, shelf 32, which seems to get chosen quite a lot, is mainly Chris Beckett. So I made almost the same choices last time. So Pascal's Angels, which is the only Macaulay on the shelf that I haven't read. I do now have Holy Machine, which I didn't have before. I haven't read either of these 2 guys, America City or Two Tribes, nor have I read... How many is that? That's... so America City, and then I'm going to pick these 3. Let's say that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Dice of Destiny for shelf 32. Number 6. Number 6 for shelf 32. It's not Holy Machine or Pascal's Angels or America City or Turing or Marcher. It is Spring Tide, which is short stories. Fabulous. Shelf 54. Right, so shelf 54 is down here, which is mainly Neil Asher, a little bit of Gary Gibson, and some Stephen King, all of which I've read, and Ursula Le Guin, all of which I've read, so that's no much good to me. However, I think we can probably get... So I haven't read many of the Neil Ashers, so I think a good place to start would be Prador Moon. I think that's like a prequel. Don't think I've read that. And then for Gibson, The Thousand Emperors I think is standalone, and then Stealing Light is the first of the Shoal trilogy, which is really 4 books. And then Cow is a standalone book, I believe. And then I haven't read The Boy on the Bridge, so that's 5. And then perhaps we'll go with The Skinner. I'm not sure that's really standalone, but I'll take my chances. So Prador Moon is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Dice of Destiny for shelf 54. Number 4. It's a little bit gloomy down here in the corner. Right, so number 4, it's not Prador Moon or the Gibson, a bit of a shame, or either of those Ashers, but it is The Boy on the Bridge, which is by the same guy that wrote, in fact I think it's set in the same world as The Girl with All the Gifts. 40. So this is shelf 40. Let's see. Will I go with Brazil or Hopeland? Hopeland is a new one, or more the most recent one, so that's 1. Little Eyes I'd like to read. I'm reading Forge of God this month, so I could actually roll straight on to the sequel, Anvil of Stars. That's 3. What about Children of Men? I have a sneaky feeling I've read this, or maybe I'm thinking of I'm thinking of the movie, actually. I don't think I've read that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll do Saturation Point. And then I'd like to read Embassy Town. So that's 6. Dice of Destiny for shelf 40. Number 1. Number 1 is, so it's not Little Eyes or The Children of Men or The Anvil of Stars or Tchaikovsky or Embassy Town, which is a bit disappointing. But it is Hopeland, which is a bit of a chunker. Shelf 23. So shelf 23 is an embarrassment of Macaulay riches. So let's go with Something Coming Through. That's the first of a sort of diptych. Red Dust can be read on its own. So can The Secret of Life. So can The Quiet War. That's the first of the Quiet War series, I think. And then Eternal Light. And then, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll go with Cowboy Angels for number 6. Cool. Definitely going to be a Macaulay. That much we know. Dice of Destiny for shelf 23. 5. Okay, so it's not Something Coming Through or Red Dust or The Secret of Life or The Quiet War or Cowboy Angels, but it is Eternal Light, which I'm very happy about because that is one of the 101 best science fiction novels of between 1985 and 2010. And I haven't read it yet. Marvellous. Shelf 2. Right, so let's give JG another go. So I think The Crystal World. Don't fancy any Benford this month. Read quite a bit of Alfred Bester recently, and Case of Conscience was a big disappointment, so I'm not in a rush to read any more Blish. What about where's it gone? Martian Chronicles. It's 2. Okay, I think Sundiver is technically the first one, but I gather it's you can read it. We can read the next one, Startide Rising, without reading it, and this is a better book than Sundiver apparently. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then I think I should read some Eric Brown. I'm going to go with Penumbra for the want of a different one to choose. And then Shockwave Rider would be a great book. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need one more. I think I'm going to go with Sinners. Okay, Dice of Destiny for shelf 2. Number 1. So it's not Martian Chronicles. It's not David Brin. It's not Eric Brown or Eric John Brunner. Shame. Or, even bigger shame, Sinners. And it is The Crystal World, which I'm a little bit intimidated by. I think I'm just going to do 2 more, because I've already got 2 from the vintage shelves, or the mass market paperback shelf. Shelf 1. So having said that the vintage shelves never come up, 2 two of them have this time around. So we've had shelf 4 and shelf 3 through the dice before, and now shelf 1 and 2. So this is awesome. I feel some good books coming on. Right, let's see what we've got. Right, shelf 1 then. A bit of Brian Aldiss maybe. What should I read? What about The Interpreter? Not least because it's got a great cover. So that's number 1. Don't think I want to read any Paul Anderson at the moment. What about Virgin Planet? That's about a man who gets stranded on an all-woman planet. Happy days. So that's 2. What about a bit of Piers Anthony? I've never read any Piers Anthony. I'm not really sure where to start, to be honest. What about a bit of cluster action? Vicinity Cluster. That's the first one, I think. So that's 1, 2, 3. I have read quite a lot of Asimov, but I haven't read... There's several I haven't read on this shelf, and I'd like to reread the robot book. So we're going to go with Caves of Steel. So that's number 4. And then number 5, The Gods Themselves, and The End of Eternity. I've not read either of those. Dice of Destiny for shelf 1. Number 4. Okay, so it's not Aldiss or Piers Anthony. Sorry, it's not Paul Anderson. It's not The Vicinity Cluster, nor is it The Gods Themselves or The End of Eternity, but it is Caves of Steel. I haven't read that since I was in probably my teens. Looking forward to that. Right, for my 2 readers' picks this month, I'm going to try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. I'm making progress on 2 separate projects. One is my completion of the Adam Roberts oeuvre, so I'll make some more progress to that. I've read 4 or 5 of them, but Salt is the first one, so I'd like to read that, I think. And it's on that list of 101 best science fiction novels, etc., etc. So that would be good to read as well. And after that, I think I'm going to give Bloom another go. This is a book I ran out of time. I had picked it a couple of months ago and then just didn't have time to read it, so it went back on the shelf. And that, A, I'd like to read it, and B, it's on the list of 101 bloody blah. So that's another one ticked off if I get it read. Great. So let's take a brief look at the books that I chose in no particular order. I'm very pleased to have this one, Take Back Plenty by Colin Greenland. This is a 1990s era space opera. He didn't write very many science fiction books, probably a handful overall. He's better known as a critic and a reviewer of books. He's written some fantasy as well. He's written some academic works on the new wave, but I principally know him for his space opera works, and there's a few books in this series and a couple of other books of his that I own as well. The heroine is Tabitha Jute, and she's like a female Han Solo figure, a little bit hard-talking, a little bit hard-playing spaceship pilot with her own spaceship, and she gets into all sorts of mischief, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. Then we've got a short story collection of Chris Beckett's Springtide. It's a relatively recent one, I think. It's from 2017, so reasonably recent. And I've not read any of his short fiction, and he's allegedly very, very good at it. And there are 21 short stories in here, so relatively short. And this book, I'd kind of forgotten, is signed. And then a blast from the past for me, Caves of Steel by Isaac Asimov. Of course, it's the first of the robots books with, what's his name? Lige Bailey, the plainclothesman, and his robot assistants. It's a good old-fashioned science fiction mystery, basically. I have read it, but it's a long time ago when I was in my teens, so getting on for 40 years ago. So I'm really looking forward to getting stuck back into that and see how it holds up. It's like 70 years old. I think it was written in the 50s, if not the 40s, actually. Yeah, originally published in 1958, so pretty elderly book now. And then a slightly more recent one from the year 2000, I believe, is Salt, which is Adam Roberts' debut book. And this is also in the reading challenge that I've set myself to collect and read all of the books in the Broderick and DeFilippo list, the 101 best science fiction novels between 1985 and 2010. So I have it, I haven't read it, so looking forward to reading it. It gets compared to Dune, which is quite a bold comparison to make, mainly in the way that it evokes the atmosphere of the planet. In case you didn't see the other videos, this is the book that I keep referring to, Science Fiction, the 101 best novels from 1985 to 2010, and that's got a list of, as it suggests, 101 great science fiction books, and I've been trying to work my way through it. The next one is Pilgrimage by Zena Henderson. Zena Henderson is an author that I hadn't heard of until quite recently. She didn't write very many books, but allegedly her writing is excellent, so I'm looking forward to that. That is about some extraterrestrials that look like humans but have supernatural powers. And then I'm a little bit trepidatious about this. It's J.G. Ballard, Crystal World. I think this is a bit of a headfuck, as I've moaned about many times. I've only read one of his books, Crash, and I didn't get on with it at all. The Decision Dice of Destiny have determined that I should read it this month, so I'm going to give it a go. It's a slender book. You can let me know what I'm letting myself in for if you've read it. And then Eternal Light by Paul McCauley is a standalone space opera, quite a hard science fiction space opera. And this is also on that list of 101 best science fiction novels, so I shall tick another one off with this one. Fantastic. And then there's The Boy on the Bridge, which is a sequel, I believe, to The Girl with All the Gifts. It's set in that same milieu. As the title suggests, it's a boy this time, a lad that's the main character. Once upon a time, in a land blighted by terror, there was a very clever boy. The people thought that the boy could save them, so they opened their gates and sent him out into the world to where the monsters lived. I enjoyed Girl with All the Gifts, both the book and the movie, so hopefully this is similar standard. Only one way to find out. And then yet another book on that 101 best science fiction novels list that I'm trying to complete is Will McCarthy's Bloom, which I tried to read a couple of months ago and ran out of time. And this one is about an outbreak of self-replicating organisms, some sort of nanotech grey gloop that's escaped on Earth, and then everyone's had to do a runner from Earth, and now it's out in the solar system as well, and the last remnants of humanity need to sort it out. Supposedly very good. And then the last book on the list for October, on the official list, anyway, I may add to it if I get the time, although with this fat book on it, perhaps I won't have it. So I actually don't know much about this at all. It's Ian McDonald's most recent book. I like his work, generally speaking, particularly the Lunar trilogy, wherein Raissa Hopeland, determined to become the next electromancer of London, bumps into Eamon Brightborn, tweed-suited, otherworldly, guided by the Grace, in the middle of a London riot. She sets in motion a series of events which will span decades. It will change the world. So I don't know what that is. That sounds a little bit, I don't know, a little bit Clive Barker-y almost. I am intrigued. Colour me intrigued. I'm very interested to know what the hell that's about. That's it. I'm really looking forward to my science fiction reading for next month. Tell me, what do you have planned? Do you know yet what you're going to be reading next month? As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye for now.